Good afternoon. I am Adah, the first star point and the daughter of Jephthah. My story begins when my father was asked by some of the elders to conduct a battle against the Ammonites who had invaded some of the territory belonging to the Israelites. My father was surprised and honored to be chosen to lead the battle. In his rush, my father made a vow to God that if God would deliver the children of Ammon into his hands, that the first person who came out of the door to our home when he returned would be offered up as a sacrifice. My father did not tell our family about his vow to God. My father left home and led an army of men against the Ammonites. He was victorious. On his triumphant return home, I rushed out to greet him, and when my father saw me, he was stricken with sadness and grief. He could not believe that I, his beloved daughter, was the first person who came out of the door to meet him. Later that day, my father told me about the vow that he had made to God. And as much as it pained my father, he knew that he had to fulfill his vow. I thought long and hard about what my father had just told me. I had nothing but love and respect for my father and his vow to God. I was in agreement that his vow had to be fulfilled. As I was thinking about my father's vow, I knew that a sword and a veil would be used during the sacrifice. My father and I demonstrated our unshakable love and trust in God. Our story personifies love and loyalty. Loyalty is fidelity, and fidelity is a major part of love. I asked my father for 2 months to prepare myself for the sacrifice. In preparation for the sacrifice, I wanted to visit England to partake in their afternoon tea tradition, and that upon my return from England, I would be allowed to go to the mountains with some of my friends. My father agreed to both of my requests. I immediately left for England, and upon my arrival in England, I received an invitation from a very distinguished group of ladies to participate in their afternoon tea tradition during my stay. The invitation stated that the afternoon tea would be a light meal of tea, small sandwiches, pastries, bread, and jam. During the afternoon tea, I had several different selections of teas to choose from, but the only tea I wanted to drink was the butterfly pea flower tea, commonly known as the blue tea. I was so happy after drinking the blue tea, I changed my attire to blue, which is my favorite color. From the ladies, I learned that the butterfly pea flower tea detoxifies the whole body, keeps the skin glowing and healthy, and stimulates blood circulation. A few days before I was scheduled to leave England, I received a message from Ruth to come and visit her in Bethlehem of Judah. I had never visited Bethlehem, so I accepted her invitation. When I arrived, Ruth had so much she wanted to share with me, but I'll let her tell her story. Ta-ta, cheerio.
Good afternoon. I am Ruth, the second star point and the wife of Boaz. My story begins in the country of Moab. My friend Orpah and I married two sons of Elimelech and Naomi of Bethlehem, Judea. Our husbands' families came to Moab to escape a famine in Judea. Within a span of 10 years, all three of our husbands died. My mother-in-law, Naomi, decided to return to her native Bethlehem and urged Orpah and me to return to our families. Orpah returned to her family, but I refused to leave Naomi. I told Naomi that I was going to Bethlehem with her and become a part of her Jewish family. After arriving in Bethlehem, Naomi and I had to provide for ourselves. Since it was time for the barley harvest, I decided to glean barley from a nearby field. As it turned out, I ended up in one of Boaz's fields. One day, while I was gleaning, Boaz came to the barley field, and he instructed his workers to allow me to glean and to leave additional grain in my path because he had learned of my loyalty to his kin Naomi. One day, Naomi told me to go to the threshing floor on the night Boaz would be sifting the barley. Naomi said that when I got to the threshing floor to uncover Boaz's feet and lie next to him while he was sleeping. When Boaz woke up, he was startled to find me at his feet. I asked him to spread his robe over me. Boaz was impressed that I had chosen him, an older man. He said he had to get permission to marry me from one of his kinsmen. Boaz called his kinsman before the elders and told him of my situation. The kinsman took off one of his shoes in token that he had renounced his rights to marry me in favor of Boaz. Boaz and I were married. I was faithful, honorable, trustworthy. All these words mean consistence, and consistence means love. Before Boaz and I became the parents of Obed and the great-grandparents of David, Israel's greatest king, I asked him if I could travel to Korea and Persia with Naomi and Orpah to attend a Korean tea festival and to attend the coronation ceremony for the new queen of Persia, Queen Esther, and of course he said yes. I made sure that my attire would include several of my favorite yellow dresses to wear to the tea festival. Naomi, Oprah, and I enjoyed the tea festival. The festival lasted for several days. During the festival, we picked tea leaves, sampled various kinds of teas, and watched live celebratory performances. One of the teas that I sampled was Korean citron tea, and of course it was my favorite yellow tea. The tea had a floral, citrus aroma, and the tea is used to treat cold symptoms, stimulate digestion, and blood circulation. After the tea festival was over, we traveled to Persia to attend the coronation of Queen Esther. Esther told us about how a Jewish girl grew up to become Queen of Persia. Well, we will let her tell her story. Annyeong!
Good afternoon. I am Esther, the third star point and the wife of King Ahasuerus. My story begins after the death of my parents when my older cousin Mordecai became like a father to me. We lived in Persia, although we were now free to go back to Jerusalem, which was our homeland before we were taken into captivity. During the third year of King Ahasuerus' reign, he had a feast for all of his officials and servants. The king ordered that Queen Vashti be brought before him wearing her royal crown. But the queen refused to be put on display. So the king became angry, and at the council of his advisors, he removed the queen from her royal position and began a search for a new queen. To find a new queen, King Ahasuerus hosted a royal beauty pageant. I was selected to participate in the pageant, and Mordecai instructed me not to reveal my Jewish heritage to anyone. When it was my time to go before the king, I was escorted to the royal palace. King Ahasuerus fell in love with me immediately, so he set the crown on my head and I became Queen Esther. After I became queen, Mordecai informed me of a plot to destroy my people. I approached the king under penalty of death because women did not approach their king unsummoned, especially when he was on his throne during Grand Council. However, the king absolved me by extending his scepter as I approached him. I told him about my Jewish heritage and the plan to kill all of the Jewish people. The king rescinded the order and my people were saved. It was not long after I became queen that I received a formal invitation from the president of China to attend his daughter's wedding. The invitation stated that a tea ceremony would be performed as part of the wedding. I went to the king to obtain permission to go to the wedding ceremony with my royal attendees. The king granted me permission to attend the wedding. I knew that the bride would be wearing a gold bridal dress, which symbolizes wealth, nobility, and power in China. So I did not hesitate to have my most glamorous white dress packed to wear to the wedding. During the tea wedding ceremony, a variety of teas were served, including white peony tea to all the guests. The white peony tea quickly became my favorite tea. It's delicious. I was told that white tea reduces inflammation, aids in weight loss, and improves skin condition. While I was in China, I received some distressing news that Martha's brother Lazarus had died. So I immediately left China to travel to Bethany to see Martha. Her story was life-changing, but I will let her tell you her story. Zai Jin!
Good afternoon. I am Martha, the fourth star point and the sister to Mary and Lazarus of Bethany. While Jesus was visiting Bethany, he befriended our family and we became followers of Jesus. So I invited Jesus and his disciples to our home for supper on several occasions. On one occasion, while I was preparing and serving our guests supper, Mary sat at the feet of Jesus, listening to his words. I asked Jesus to tell Mary to help me, but Jesus said, Martha, you're worried and upset about many things. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. A few days later, Jesus and his disciples left Bethany. While Jesus was away, Lazarus became sick and died. I believed with all of my heart, mind, and soul that Jesus was the resurrection and the life. But Jesus did not return to Bethany until the fourth day after Lazarus' death. When I saw Jesus, I said to Jesus, were you here, you could have saved my brother. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask. Well, Jesus did save Lazarus. He raised him from the dead. I now had positive proof of eternal life. Also, I demonstrated faith in Jesus. Faith is trust, hope, belief, confidence, and devotion. All of these words, especially faith, mean love. So much had happened in a short period of time, and I especially needed some time to myself after Lazarus was resurrected. So I decided to visit Japan to attend one of its tea ceremonies. Japan is known worldwide for its traditional arts, including tea ceremonies, calligraphy, and flower arrangement. When I arrived in Japan, I immediately went to a tea ceremony. It was amazing. I had the most wonderful green tea. Green tea is synonymous with Japanese tea. It is the most consumed beverage in Japan, valued for its health and restorative properties. Drinking green tea is a custom that has been interwoven into Japanese culture, and with almost every meal, a freshly brewed pot of green tea is served. It is a way of life, an embodiment of Japanese hospitality. By the way, green is my favorite color. Before I left Japan, I decided to visit Electa on my way home. I will now let Electa tell you her story. Sayonara.
Good afternoon. I'm Electa, the fifth star point and the mother to my children. My story begins with John the Apostle, one of Jesus' 12 disciples, came to my village to minister the teachings of Jesus. I invited him to my home. His message about Jesus' teachings were based on truth and love, and I became a follower of Jesus. I had a deep conviction in my heart that I must help all that were in need. I took the poor into my home and I ministered to them. I shared all my material possessions with those that needed help. Anyone that I came in contact with, I ministered to them about Jesus. I was filled with so much love for my fellow man. The cup is a reminder to extend aid to those who are victims of poverty and distress. While John, the apostle, was away, he wrote a letter to me. He reminded me to walk in Christ's commandment and to beware of the Antichrist deceivers. Also, he wrote he was planning on visiting me so we could speak face to face. The Roman soldiers had started harassing everyone that became a follower of Christ. I needed to regroup and plan my steps on how I was going to walk in love and faith as I ministered to those in need. So I decided that my children and I were going to go to Cape Town, South Africa. I was told that South Africa was known for its great natural beauty, cultural diversity, and tea, which made it a favorite destination for travelers. We left immediately for South Africa. One day, while we were out sightseeing in Cape Town, we were introduced to rooibos tea.
Rooibos tea is known as a red tea or red bush tea. Guess what I had on? A red dress, and I was drinking my red tea. Red is my favorite color. I was told that red tea was a good alternative to black or green tea, and that it was also rich in antioxidants, which provide benefits to the heart and liver. The red tea is enjoyed by millions of South Africans every day and is considered by many their national beverage. Well, we hope you enjoyed our presentation as we travel to 5 amazing destinations, and we encourage you to try some new teas. This journey was very special to each of us, especially as we finally reached our destiny. Away.